Am I the asshole for telling my aunt that finding my birth parents wouldn't make her bio son search for her? I'm 24 female, an adoptee, and I have never ever wanted to search for my birth parents or any birth family.
I'm happy with the family I was raised in. I did some genetic testing to get a better idea of risk factors, so I don't need my birth family for that kind of thing, and generally I don't feel any curiosity about the people I'm genetically related to.
I'm also really fucking happy with my life and I'm not feeling anything missing.
Something could change in the future, but I have never felt any other way about this.
My mom's oldest sister, aka aunt from the title, placed her son for adoption 38 years ago. She was young and she felt like she had no choices at the time.
But she has always wished she hadn't given him up. She tried to get him back a couple of months after he was adopted, and she tried searching for him a few times, but it seems like he never looked for her, and so she hasn't found him.
It's a grief she carries around almost 40 years later. I think my aunt's experience has given her this warped idea that if I were to search for my birth family and show an interest in meeting and being part of my birth family, her son will do the same. She has encouraged me to be more curious about my birth family for years now. Since I was a teenager, and I never cared. She told me, not asked or suggested, but told me I should look for my birth parents.
I told her I didn't want to, and she told me I didn't know what I was saying.
She has used guilt trips about my birth parents missing me and about the family I could be missing out on.
But I was clear I don't care. My mom spoke to her several times and told her to get help and stop dragging me into her grief.
She refuses to leave it alone. She has asked me why I have no interest, and I have told her how I feel. She has really tried to make me say I'm somewhat curious, but I'm just not. And then we had an incident the other week. She mentioned it for the millionth time, and I tried to ignore her and carry on other conversations, but she kept bringing it up, and bringing it up. She was asked to stop by my mom and other family members, and finally I got so tired of her pressing the issue that I told her finding my birth parents won't make her son search for her, and she needs to stop linking those things because she's setting herself up for more heartache. My aunt called me callous to her experience and feelings. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole.
You really cannot be too harsh. Editing here to clarify that I meant that any level of harsh response from OP is justified. W your aunt at this point. You've every right to go completely no contact W her, and the entire family needs to back you up.
If she does both Ancestry and 23andMe testing and makes her results public, her son can find her if he wants. But she's so desperate she's gonna need therapy regardless, or she'll drive him away the minute he meets her. Not the asshole.
Your aunt needs therapy to learn to deal with her grief, and maybe some hard truth will make her see that.
Even if it doesn't, she needs to learn that she can't project her issues onto you, and maybe being harsh with her will do that. Also, tell her the only person being callous is the one that won't stop bringing it up, because she certainly hasn't shown any interest in your feelings and experience. Not the asshole. You could say your aunt is callous towards your experience and feelings. Not the asshole.
She is the one being callous to your feelings and experience.
What you do with your life and who you consider your family is only up to you.
Tell her that the next time she forces her feelings onto you will be the last time you speak to her for a month, and double the time out every subsequent time.
She needs therapy. You are not a puppet to live out her fantasy with. Not the asshole. Perhaps it would be callous if this was the first time she mentioned it and that was your reply.
But you have told her off many times, so has your mom. And so have other family members, and she's still needling you. It's high time this gets through, so yeah, no blame on you if you get more blunt.
Not the asshole.
What's the saying?
Misery loves company. She is incapable of letting you be happy with what you have because she isn't happy with what she has.
Make it clear to your family that you understand she has regrets, and you feel for her sorrow, but you can't deal with her anymore.
She's making you miserable because she's making you feel like a bad person for loving and being loved by your family.
And that you think she needs professional help to deal with her grief, not treat you as some kind of totem for her son.
Am I the asshole for calling out my coworkers' borrowing habit? I, 28M, work in a small office with a close-knit team. We all get along well, except for a borrowing habit of my coworker, Lola, 30F. Here's the issue. Lola constantly borrows my stuff. Stapler, highlighters, even my lunch once, though she sheepishly replaced it. I get it, small things happen. But it's become excessive. My stapler goes missing, I find it on her desk. I bring a new pack of pens, half are gone by the week's end.
The other day, I brought in a specific coffee mug, a limited edition one from my favorite band.
It wasn't dishwasher safe, so I hand washed it and left it on my desk to dry. I come back from a meeting, and it's gone. I see Lola using it at her desk. I calmly asked for it back, explaining it's very special to me. She apologized and said she'd be careful, but I was firm. I told her I needed it back because it wasn't something I wanted to risk getting damaged. She got huffy, claiming I was being dramatic and that it was just a mug. I told her it wasn't just a mug to me, and that repeatedly taking things without asking was inconsiderate. She stormed off, and now everyone's giving me the silent treatment, implying I'm overreacting. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for calling out Lola's borrowing habit, especially over just a mug? So your co-worker steals from you constantly. Start taking things from her desk. Or loudly. As for your items back, I mean everybody starts getting after you for that. Say we'll link to someone else fund her office work because she keeps taking mine. Or pay a little bit and get a bunch of pens that are engraved or printed with stolen from the desk of op name. And when she takes them, point out, can you please read the inscription? AITA. Not the asshole. It's time to get it in writing. Send her an email, calm and factual, that she's been borrowing your personal items and that will no longer be acceptable to you. This will lay the groundwork for it escalates. She's not borrowing. This woman is a thief who gets pleasure and a sense of control by taking other people's belongings. She's doing it consciously and deliberately. Escalate this to supervisor level because it's affecting work relationships and the work environment. Not the asshole. You are working with nitwits. Enjoy the silence. You made it clear to leave your desk alone. How they feel about your reaction isn't the point. Not the asshole. A small innocuous thing repeated too often stops being a small thing, and you didn't yell at her or attack her verbally. Just pointed out you're not fine with it. Go to HR. Not the asshole, but why on earth do you keep bringing stuff, if she keeps stealing it? Am I the asshole for not laughing at my sister-in-law making my son cry? My sis-in-law and her husband looked after my 7-year-old overnight for the first time a few weeks ago. My son was excited leading up to it as he was going to spend the night staying at his favorite uncle's house. The next day my sis-in-law was telling us how funny it was when they made the uncle hide and pretended he'd left for the night. My son took it as a joke for a while and kept saying, "Haha, no he hasn't," but they kept it up until he had a mini meltdown and started crying. This was the second sis-in-law who was present, also did this by hiding his Nintendo Switch and pretended they sold it. My sis-in-law was laughing her head off while sat there just looking a bit confused, surprised at what was funny. Sister-in-law said something along the lines of, "You don't have to look so traumatized." And, knowing how sensitive my wife's side of the family can be, I just replied, "Sorry, but I don't find those kind of jokes funny." Sister-in-law then exploded in front of everyone and went on a rant about how she doesn't feel like she can treat my son how she wants and doesn't tell him off how she wants because of me. For context, when my son was born he was very premature and in intensive care for the first 3 weeks, so for the first year I absolutely was a bit overprotective, and I also got my sis-in-law's back up when my son fell over when he was 3 and screamed, and I went running over asking if he was okay. Even though his other aunt was already there, and that one exploded then too, shouting that she knows how to look after a child. Again, then I was a bit confused that asking my son, who was crying and distressed, if he was okay should get such an angry reaction. I'm now paranoid about how I parent in front of my in-laws. So, am I the asshole? Maybe I'm missing something and should see their paw? Update. Thanks everyone, I just wanted to check I wasn't overreacting or losing the plot. The aunties are generally very loving and caring, just don't have kids of their own and can obviously be quite immature, then get angry if anyone calls out any of their behaviors. Thankfully the need to is few and far between. Really appreciate all the comments and they've been taken on board. She finds it funny for torturing your 7-year-old. Very easy solution, they are never to have your child overnight alone again. Very simple. If your sister-in-law says something, say you are scaring my child and treating him like crap. Leave them alone. You are not allowed to have them alone anymore. If your boy this says something, tell him, well, your wife is torturing him and you're in on it. Guess what now? You can't have him alone anymore.
You're more than welcome to visit him over here, but you cannot have him alone.
Be the parent and tell your in-laws and your brother no. Not the asshole, protect your child. You're not the asshole.
Sister-in-law then exploded in front of everyone and went on a rant about how she doesn't feel like she can treat my son how she wants.
Well, no kidding. She doesn't get to bully a 7-year-old child. No parent should allow an adult to torment her child. What's really pathetic is that she is a relative. Any one of my aunts would have stood up against a bully who was tormenting me or my brothers. Not the asshole. No, your sister-in-law does not get to treat your child any way she wants. Pranking him into tears is abuse. Protect him. From now on, refuse to let them be alone with him, without you or your spouse present. Jokes that make children cry are not funny. She's a rotten sadist and shouldn't be left alone with kids. Not the asshole. Not the asshole uncle doesn't sound like a prize either. It'd be really funny if you hid her keys from her next time you hang out. Not the asshole. Mean jokes are only funny to mean people. Am I the asshole for not helping my parents with my brother anymore? I, 18 male, moved out of my parents' house 5 weeks ago when I turned 18. My reason for moving out so fast is because they had me helping a lot with my younger brother, 14, who is autistic and nonverbal. It was a lot and I resent having my life revolve around him so much before. Looking after him is a full-time job and they expected me to sign up for a part-time job in it so they could get a break, instead of going through the proper channels and taking advantage of respite care and other things that could give us all a break and allow them to spend time with me. My brother can have these silent breakdowns, as I call them, where he won't walk and needs to be held and carried around. My parents had me doing that for years and sometimes I was the only person he would settle for and then I'd have him in my arms for ages. They used to give me some freedom but took that away when they realized they might need me during those moments of freedom. They pulled me out of birthday parties to help with my brother before. They pulled me out of tutoring after school because they knew it wasn't actual school that I had to attend. They actually pulled me out of class a few times to settle my brother. I wanted out and I left as soon as I could. My boyfriend's parents took me in. And I haven't gone to my parents' house since. I stopped taking their calls or responding to their texts. But they are pissed because 3 different times since I left they asked me via text to help with my brother and I ignored them. They keep texting that I should be ashamed. What kind of brother and son am I? How could I leave them to do it themselves, and what about my brother who misses me? They even sent me a few videos of my brother crying and they said he was missing me and crying for me. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. You deserve to be your own person. You deserve attention and affection, not being the one who constantly provides it. Your parents should not bully or guilt trip you, but appreciate you and give you a big hug for how much you have contributed already at such a young age. You have done enough and now you need to live your own life. Your brother is your parents' son and he's their responsibility. Your parents are awful, they made you the 3rd parent since you were a child. I'm 60F and had 2 kids and if one had problems, that would have been up to me and hubby to take care of our child, not their sibling. Stay strong, I'm glad you had a place to go to. I hope you have a plan for work, school, a future? If not, start thinking of that. Not the asshole and keep blocking your parents. OFFS, change your number and go enjoy your freedom. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. They treated you terribly and never put you first. They don't understand boundaries. Block their numbers and make a life with your chosen family. Not the asshole. Now be a thoughtful guest to the BF's parents. Get a job and either change your phone number or get a different, low-cost phone until you are on your feet. Focus on yourself and building a life for yourself. You have no future with your parents except as unpaid help. Cut off contact completely so you can begin to heal. Maybe then they will look into all the services they should have already been utilizing. Good luck, Op. Nope, not the asshole, and your parents are shameless. It would be one thing if this were something discussed with as a family to help your brother. You are correct that there are lots of options out there. Respite care plus social services to name a few, but it seems having you around meant free help. Now that you are old enough to get away, poof, you left. They didn't give you many choices and much of your own life, so it should be no big surprise that you got out as fast as you could. You've done nothing wrong.
They, however, now need to come up with a plan B that should have been their plan A when they realized their younger son was going to need help rather than saddle you with the duties they did.
Live free, my butterfly. Spread those wings and find out who you are. Good luck.